The scenes in John's house and also Garfield and Odie's house were pretty good, but the rest of the scenes in Garfield's Feline Fantasies didn't appeal to me personally. This was released in 1990. It's directed by Phil Roman, Bob Nesler, and John Sparey, written by Jim Davis. And of course, we have our great voice cast including Lorenzo Music and Thom Hughes. And this focuses on, well, Garfield having various fantasies, mostly focusing on this mission to get the banana of Bombay. And they visit, Garfield and Odie visit various places. And honestly, I didn't really like the imagination world where we see Garfield off in his fantasies exploring these different cultures and meeting these different people. It was well animated, the pacing was very good, and I think the narrative flowed well. But for me personally, I prefer it not just with Garfield, but with any kind of animation when the characters are in the real world. And I just think it's so fun seeing Garfield interacting with John and his surroundings and, opening the refrigerator and generally doing things a cat shouldn't do. So when he's in this fantasy world, it just doesn't appeal to me personally, but I'm willing to acknowledge that it's not necessarily the fault of the cartoon. I think it's an interesting enough story. It's a very well developed narrative. It's got a lot going for it, but not in a way that's overcomplicated. I think it's easy enough to follow, but it's quite detailed. And visually, it was very well animated. The structure was very good. It's great to see this relationship between Garfield and Odie, and there were some bits that I quite liked. There were some kind of fantasy bits that I liked, such as when Garfield was doing the tablecloth flipping. You flip the tablecloth thing. You know what I mean. In my defense, Garfield explained it about as well as I've just done, but I thought that worked quite well, and I liked that it cut back to the real world so we could see how Garfield's imagination was interacting with the world around him. That was done very well. But for me, the actual fantasies themselves I just didn't find them that interesting. So it's not the fault of the cartoon. If you're a fan of Garfield, I think you might enjoy it. I can appreciate that it's a pretty decent creation. But for me personally, after the first couple of minutes, it just wasn't as interesting. It's not my favourite Garfield cartoon. I probably wouldn't watch it again. It wouldn't be torture if I was forced to watch it. There are some good bits. But when it comes to Garfield cartoons, of the ones I've seen, it's currently probably at the bottom of the list.